Hey guys, we're back. Back out in the garage, doing some LS heads here, and they've already been ported. And there's some things that have been neglected on these heads, and I'm gonna point them out to you. Find a little pointer here, and it's this right here. This is where you give up horsepower, fellas. All these things right around the seat. This, believe it or not, guys, this is more crucial than porting a head. If you can't get the air to move around these valves first, then there's no sense doing the rest of it. That's just how I look at this. I mean, the seat is everything. And the combustion chamber, the efficiency of that, I've done several videos on this kind of stuff, but I just want to keep pointing this out because there's horsepower being left on the table. I see heads come back from TrickFlow. I see them come back from every company where people's paid $1,000 to have all this extra work done, and it's still the same. Like, they'll worry about the port being all CNC'd, and yet you'll look around the valves and it will still have this. And then the guys are paying all this money and they're not even paying any attention to this. I don't understand why. And another thing on these heads here, I've pointed it out before on different heads, but almost every head has a ridge. And what you can do, you just break that ridge. It's not even hard to do, guys. And I'm going to break the rule of thumb right here, fellas. I want to show you guys something. Everybody says to take the valves out and everything when you're doing combustion chambers, which you can. Then you got to worry about hitting your seats. But for guys that don't really want to go through all the trouble and don't have the tools, you're not going to hurt these things. I know I'm going to get some grief over this, but look, you're not going to hurt these things. You're not. This is 80 grit, fellas, look. You're not doing anything to hurt this valve. Except polishing it and maybe knocking the ridge down a little bit on it. Only thing you don't want to do, you want to stay away from the edges if you can. But if you hit the edge with a roll like this, you're not going to hurt anything. Now, what you don't want to do is use a regular porting tool. You know, carbide bit or anything like that. But as far as these sanding rolls, they're not aggressive. You actually have to bear down these. You'd have to almost want to hurt something with these. But if you just take this and knock all this stuff down here, I've already done this a little bit. These have a pretty sharp edge right here. You just smooth all this stuff out. Any places on the combustion chamber, LSs are a mess, to be honest. I don't know why they didn't copy the efficiency of a E7, the worst head on earth, to do the combustion chamber, because they actually have a decent combustion chamber on them, even though they don't flow for crap. But just take all the spots out that you can level. You want to level them, and you're not going to hurt anything by doing this. You're going to help it out. If you can knock all these high points off and level the combustion chamber, fellas, I'm going to tell you right now, people's not going to believe me on this. If you were to do all this around the valve and take these sharp edges out, and especially if you want to get tactical and really blend this around the spark plug-in and even lay this back even more, which I'm not doing to this, you can actually take this pretty aggressive. There's 10 to 20 horsepower just in this combustion chamber. And guys, some people are going to say, there's no way. I'm going to tell you right now, yes, way. And that's why you see a lot of cars that don't run quite like they should. Guys neglect things like this, and they don't even realize that they spend the money to have this done, and they don't realize that they're giving up all this horsepower that's left on the table. Okay, 20 horsepower. He's like, you don't even see that. Okay, it's not 20 horsepower, fellas. It's 20 horsepower through the power band. And you're talking efficiency. You're talking about the way your timing is. You're talking about running less timing, especially with power adders and stuff. You're talking about where your combustion chamber is going to actually help you out with less timing. And therefore, you're talking about the whole run of the quarter mile. And that's where this all comes into play. A lot of this stuff isn't just 20 horsepower on the table. But even if it was, why you wouldn't give that up? Forgive me for stumbling over my words here, guys. Just trying to think of trying to point this out the best way I can without being a know-it-all about all this stuff. Because there's guys out there, like I said, they're regular porters and head guys, and they know all this stuff, and they would have a different opinion about this. I was like, that guy's off the wall showing the people that he shouldn't be doing that. The only other thing you do have to worry about, you don't want to just bear down and make the valve a sharp edge or anything. What you do, even if you felt the valve and it felt a little bit like where you did get a little bit too carried away with it, guys, take one of your overalls, fold it over, and you just get back over it, right under it. You just smooth it back out. You're not going to hurt it. These guys get so technical about stuff, and I get almost angry over some of the stuff I see and hear people say, only because I know it's too technical sometimes. I mean, it's like this here. You can have a guy that has a $10,000 engine, and then you'll see a guy that has something he throw together in his backyard, kicking the guy in the butt, and the guy's like, what is going on here? And this right here is the reason. Because they do stuff like this here, and they mill the head. They get stuff done that's important. I see guys get headers they put on their cars. They don't even take the time to check them to see if there's any weld overhanging in the port, which I have a friend that did that, and I pointed it out, and he still says, oh, well, I'm putting them on how they are. And then he says to me, I don't know why this car is not fast like it should be. And it isn't just that, guys. It's because he's doing everything just like that, out of the box, which some stuff out of the box is fine, but you just can't be a blind eye to stuff. You have to take it into consideration that these things work. If it didn't work, you wouldn't see NASCAR being so technical with all the stuff that they do. And the thing is, it doesn't always have to cost a lot of money. That's what I'm trying to point out. I'm always after the guys that have a budget. I'm not talking about guys that just can afford to send their stuff to guys that do everything for them. This is for us guys that are in the shop, trying to do stuff ourselves. And I'll probably have 50% of the people say, why's he showing people that for? That's off the wall. Well, when the car comes out and you see these heads on it, I'm not even going to tell you what is going on right now. You'll probably see for yourself. But it's not like we set the world on fire, but the stuff we have, my son's running guys that he has no business running against. I mean, with the garbage we use 302s that are rusted up cylinders and things like that. And, not because it's us, I'm not patting our own backs. It's just that this is what anybody can do, is this kind of stuff. And that's what I'm after, to help people. It breaks my heart when I see a kid down the track that has all this money in something, and the car is actually a mutt, or we're sitting there with a bone stock engine, and he has trick flow heads or Canfields from back in the day on it, something that still works at flow 280, 320, depending who did them, depending what runner. But get my point about this. If somebody has all that work done, what takes the wind out of your sails more than knowing that some guy just handed you your butt? Or even if you're not happy with your car, how it's running yourself, you're like thinking you're going to have an 11-second piece or a 12-second piece, and it should be running in the 10s. That's where I get upset. I hate to see guys waste their money like that. And that's why I do these videos, hoping I can make any kind of sense to people. it's all about helping you guys. It's not about anything that I'm out here trying to show something that nobody else knows, because believe me, there's very smart people out there. It's just that these guys don't want to show you things like this here because they think it's off the wall. And I'm off the wall with things. I do stuff all the time about trying to make power where there's not a whole lot to play with. But years of doing that, I've stumbled across a few things that work, and then I can show somebody something and they'll be like, okay. And they won't even realize what they're looking at half the time. I can show them a spacer that I made. I had a spacer we made for one of our cars, and the thing picked up 0.3 of a second. You might put that on another vehicle, it might not pick up anything, but I know why it does on certain intakes and why it doesn't work on other intakes. We tried it on another intake. It was a dual plane we had it on, and it picked up, like I said, 0.3, I believe it was. We put it on another intake, it picked up nothing. It was exactly the same. But my point is this, is that if you don't try things, you're not going to know what works and what doesn't work. But the reason that spacer, getting back to the spacer for a second, didn't work is because the plenum was too small in the other intake. And it was funneling the air too much to the center. There wasn't enough volume in the plenum for that spacer to work. But I try to give you guys information. I just don't want to do a video with one thing in it, one little tiny thing. I try to spread myself too thin. That's why I start stuttering with my words. Because I want you guys to have a good thing. I want it to count when you do something. There's nothing worse, heart-wrenching, than putting heads on, do all this work, and the car's like, hey, this is not even any faster. How many guys do you know have done that, fellas? If you don't, I have in the past. I've seen some guys spend a lot of money. I talked to a guy down the track years ago. He had a 460 and a Mustang, and he had all basic stuff on it. And he turned around, he put all high dollar stuff on it. $6,000 later, and he had to put more gear in the car to get it back where it was. He was so disgusted. I mean, the car was fast. It went 920s for its time, but he was already doing that before. So that's the kind of points I make, guys, when I tell you these things. And like I said, I know I ramble sometimes, get crossed up in my words, but when it comes down to the basics, guys, I'm trying to tell you what's right. And it doesn't mean that I'm always right, but it means you can listen to it, try it, and why are you out? Like if you do something small, like a spacer, and it doesn't work like I said it would, you're out $20, guys, not 150. I do my own spacers. I buy them at Advance or AutoZone, and I do them myself. And meanwhile, you can go pay $150 for a Wilson spacer. My spacers outrun one of them by I think 1/10 we lost on one of the cars. My son tried one of the expensive spacers, and he lost 1/10 of a second. With our little tiny $30 spacer, $25, whatever we paid. But guys, that's why I try running the 2 or 3 things here in one segment. I know I was doing the heads, but I would talk about the spacers now. But it's all about money. It's all about little things that work, guys. And like I said, this is all about helping you guys out, doing little tricks I've known over the years. And even those things are fuel injection now, the stuff I'm doing still works on fuel injection. So that's why I'm trying to bring as much to you guys' attention as I can. And I know one of the best note is to take these valves out and to get all down in here the best I can. But I don't have time for that. And that's the only reason I'm doing this, and I thought I'd make a video about it. So I'm trying to point it out. And a lot of times, fellas, what I wanted to tell you is when you are doing something, you'll see a shadow, and that will always be a ridge. Like a lot of times you'll see the edge of something. You're like, why doesn't the light shine there? That's because most of the time there's a deep spot in the combustion chamber or something. And you always want to put your finger in there because you don't want to keep grinding until you get that out. Sometimes you're going to have them things happen. And especially if you have the head a certain way with the light hitting it, and then you turn it the other way, like, oh, that's fine. There's not a ridge there. You always want to go by your shadows that's casting on the head. Don't keep grinding thinking you're grinding something that's not there. Take your fender, stop and look and feel. So that's another thing I wanted to tell you guys. So, that's about this segment in a nutshell. I hope I can help you guys. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to tell you. And I don't want to bore you guys, but I don't want to overrun myself saying the same thing over and over, the same thing. But sometimes you have to. And I wish people would have taken the time to tell me these things when I was a young guy doing this. I would have had to learn the hard way, fellas. All right, guys, you all take care, and I appreciate you checking me out again. Like I told you guys, I'm going to try to do things to make things good for you. And I've been a little bit under the weather, guys. That's why I haven't been on there. But I could use some prayers, but I don't want no pity party. I didn't really want to discuss it, but I'm actually out here where I'm not really feeling that great right now. But just keep me in your prayers, and I'm going to try to put more out when I get feeling better, fellas. All right? All right, guys. I appreciate you guys all the time. And have a good day, all right? Take care.